Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of For the Love of Oats with us, your hosts, Mr. Jack the Stack Richardson, coming in on the left-hand corner over here. Hi Jack.
Hey.
Waving around. And then me, your little blonde tiny idiot, as per usual, Vicky Masita, aka the Tiny Titan. I'm hoping to be the soon stacked Titan, but I'm just going to leave the whole stacking thing to Jack, realistically. Today, we have a wonderful guest on, one of my favourite, largest people in the entire world, who's always a grumpy fucker, but I love him anyway.
Are you saying I'm fat?
No, I'm saying you're large.
You're saying I'm fat, aren't you?
I never say that you're fat. I can't say that you're fat because I take care of your nutrition, not that you listen.
I've actually stuck to a diet for 6 days.
Wow, that's amazing, actually. How are you feeling?
For fucking me, it is. Hungry.
I know.
Hungry. Very hungry.
You are always hungry. You're always hungry and you're always hangry.
I'm always hungry.
Exactly. One of my favorite. What diet are you sticking to now then, Dave?
No, just the one I got that we were working on together. I've just gone back to that. It's a decent diet. Just my problem is I'll get so far and then I get distracted and I make excuses and because of shit. So I've just given myself a stern talking to and thought, what the fuck are you doing? It's not hard.
Oh, that's good.
It's just not eating, which is easy.
It's just not eating. Right, I just want to throw it out there to any of my clients or potential clients. I don't starve people. I actually gave Dave quite a lot of food. And he does eat a lot.
Quite a lot of food?
Quite a lot of food, it was.
For you, maybe.
Yeah, for me. I eat more than you, though, Dave. You know that.
For a 4-foot mouse, yeah. Not for a growing lad. But no, people talk about dieting being hard and all that. And all right, if you get it down to sort of 4 or 5%, then yeah, it gets a bit difficult. But really, it's not, is it? Climbing Mount Everest barefoot's fucking hard.
That is true.
Dieting and losing a bit of weight because you're a bit of a fat twat is not really hard. It's just mental. We make all these stupid excuses, and I'm a real bugger for that one. Having that conversation in your head about how you justify having that little bit of this, that, or the other because you didn't eat as much as that earlier, or you missed this, or you missed that. It doesn't work like that.
It does, doesn't it?
But you do this shit because you just lie to yourself, like we do with a lot of things.
We do.
And I just thought, fuck it, stop being an arse. You're a fat twat. You need to sort your shit out.
6 days in, you're doing all right. 6
days in, and I need a cheat. I need a refeed, Vicky.
You've been refeeding for the last year. You'll be fine.
I've been refeeding for the last 4.
Right, moving swiftly on. So we're just going to have our little catch up. So, Jack, how are you doing, my man? What's been going on in the life of Jack?
Yeah, not too bad. The usual training, eating, sleeping. Recently, I've been sponsored by Hustling Labs, which is a pretty cool achievement. They're my first sponsor.
Alex.
They're a local shop.
Alex was up at mine today.
Yeah. He said to me, he's having a pint with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pint of his blood.
Yeah,
oh, that's funny.
Vampire, because what do you do with all that blood?
I sell it online.
Oh, right, okay.
I have this secret page and sale of bodybuilding blood.
Bodybuilding blood.
Mm-hmm.
Does bodybuilding blood have any special powers as opposed to, say, like, Tiny Titan powers or Tiny Titan?
Well, no, but idiots think it does. I don't.
That's very true.
Yeah, just I sell it.
Indeed.
It is professionally disposed of.
Very good. So just as we're obviously on the subject of that, Dave, do you just want to give the listeners a little bit of a rundown about who you are, why I love you so much, and why we decided to bring you on to the podcast? And we'll get onto your vampire type stuff. There's a weird person walking behind you, Jack. What's going on there?
Ghost.
It was.
Just lives in the house. Shares the house. Doesn't even pay rent, though.
Rude.
Right, okay, so my official title is Performance and Image Enhancing Drugs Specialist, I suppose. I'm a court certified drug expert. So my specialist field is steroids and associated drugs. On a corporate level, I do talks and seminars on steroid use, steroid abuse, how the market moves, driving factors behind use, all this sort of thing, harm reduction. I run a harm reduction company as well called Crosland. I present and advise the ACMD. For those that don't know, that's the Advisory Council for Misuse of Drugs. That is the government body that decides the law regarding drugs. So I tell them what they need to know in regards to what's happening in the world of steroids. I work for the MHRA, which is basically the government agency. They're like the medicine police. So they deal with illegal medicines, fake medicines, all that sort of stuff. I work with them. Mm-hmm. I train police officers to be expert witnesses in court for Kent Police. I run that course 3 to 4 times a year. I also work as an expert witness in the courts on predominantly steroid cases, but I do sometimes branch out into other bits and bats now and again. Okay. I work for the Scottish Prison Service. I work for a couple of English prisons. I'm actually doing something for Sudbury Prison coming up. And I used to do a lot of drug and alcohol presentations for the military, but that contract's now stopped. And so that's really the sort of corporate stuff. I do stuff like write letters for guys that are going for custody battles of the users and explaining the impact of steroids on somebody and all that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. I have a private client base where I help and manage people with their drug problems. That's the harm reduction side, but we also do coaching and drug management in general. And our client base ranges from, someone who's just trying to change the shape cosmetically right up to world's strongest man and IFBB pros. And so that's the main of that. I have a podcast called Drugs and Stuff with Scott McNally. I talk at Body Power. I'm going to be talking at FitX in September. Yay. I might be signing up with TFL, who do really big weekend seminars.
Cool.
Then the other side of the business, which is the other company we have, which is called Eval.
Yeah.
So Eval started off as a blood analysis company. So basically, you go to doctors, you get your blood reports, and he just says everything's fine and sends you on your way. So what we would do is a full breakdown of what's going on in your bloods, explain what everything means, and how you can improve things if they weren't quite optimal. Okay. Again, that was initially set up as a harm reduction service. So it was mainly for drug users, but not just steroid users. So it was anyone that had a lifestyle that was not positive towards their health. Mm-hmm. The problem is, you see, a lot of people, they might go out and smoke coke at the weekend, they might do a lot of Eckies, they might drink too much alcohol. They're not going to reveal that to their GP for several reasons, but a big one is insurance.
Sure.
Because it starts causing problems for things like that. So we decided that we could do a confidential service where we could help these people still minimize the risks they'll put themselves under. It is a bit of a catch-22 because you can argue that, well, if there's no ways of getting around it, it's going to encourage them to continue doing. And there is an element of that goes on. There's no doubt that people get in touch just because they're fucked up and they want a patch to cover it so they can carry on going.
Yeah.
But, we are realistic in the approach to harm reduction. Just say no, doesn't work, never has worked, and has long gone way since fucking Grange Hill did it fucking God knows how many years ago.
God, Grange Hill, bloody hell. I don't even think, Jack, you're not old enough to remember Grange Hill, are you?
He won't even know what Grange Hill is.
No, don't think he does. It's just me and you that are the old farts, Dave.
Yeah. Now, Eval's now branched into doing blood testing.
Okay.
So we now do blood testing, but you have to come to either us or one of our workshops because I won't do the postal shit because the sample collection on postal is just garbage.
Yeah.
We do bloodletting. One of the problems with a lot of steroid users is high, thick blood, so we do bloodletting to support that. And after March, we'll be doing IV infusions, and along with that, we'll be doing ozone therapies.
Oh, interesting.
That's quite high-end stuff. Unfortunately, ozone therapy, they have to come to a sister clinic we have in Halifax that we work with. The IV stuff, we can come to them, and what we are starting to do after that is basically create a roadshow where we'll come to a club or a gym or a venue for a day, as long as the guarantee is a minimum set of numbers and do IVs. But the other thing we're just getting into is we're going to consider doing it at bodybuilding shows as well.
Oh, that's really cool.
Because there's some IV blends and mixes you can use that will be very beneficial to bodybuilders pre-going on stage and post-comp. Stuff like hydration, electrolyte balances, sodium and potassium balances, and antitox and anti-inflammatories, particularly for like the liver and the kidneys and stuff like that, because the stress of the competition are hard. So whether you take drugs or not, the stress of the competition are hard.
Definitely.
The other thing we're potentially looking at is hydration for powerlifters.
Okay.
So a lot of powerlifters cut water to make weight. If you weigh in 2 days before you lift, that's not so bad. If you weigh in the morning of your lift, that is a bitch to rehydrate. Fastest way to rehydrate, IV.
Now, when you can only use that in certain federations, isn't it? Because they actually stopped boxers from doing it. They banned IVs because boxers were doing these ridiculous weight cuts, like something along the lines of like losing 30% of their body weight throughout that week.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's going to be a strong issue with the powerlifting federations because even the big ones are still relatively grassroots in the way they approach things, and hopefully they'll see it as this is going to cut down on one, the number of injuries, because dehydration is a massive cause of muscle tears, and two, on the risk to the lifters themselves when they're lifting and they're not fully hydrated because they've been trying to make weight.
Yeah, of course.
So definitely falls more into line with the lighter lifters because they're more conscious of making weight categories. Obviously, the bigger, heavier lifters basically just above and over, and it doesn't matter anymore how big they get because they're in that open end. But there's other things as well. We're looking at packages for strongman and maybe taking some packages around competition for them as well. But that's the general gist of where we're going with everything.
So you're not very busy at all then?
No, quite quiet at the moment, really. Yeah.
Excellent.
Going to Holland tomorrow morning to do some seminars out there.
Yes, you're going with Mr. Foster, aren't you, from Strong?
Unfortunately, yes. He seems to have invited himself along.
You'll have fun. You guys always seem to have fun when you go
We're going out to Evan. And obviously, I haven't really touched on this, but I'm probably most well known for being ridiculously large, taking ridiculously large amounts of drug and destroying my kidneys.
Correct.
So that's really what probably put me on the map. I was 415 pounds at 6'1".
I remember this. I remember first seeing you on your documentaries, Under Construction. I remember seeing both of them, and I really enjoyed them. Really enjoyed them.
At the time, they were groundbreaking. They probably still stand the test of time now, but I wouldn't have said they were as particularly as innovative now as they used to be, because others have followed suit.
Yeah. So if you dive into that just a little bit then, Dave, because people have probably just heard that. I mean, we've obviously talked about this on a number of occasions, but people have probably just heard the fact that you were one of the largest humans to walk the earth. But why did you do it? Like, literally, why did you do it?
Why not?
Well, this is a very good question, and one that I would always pose. However, there has to be and this is the whole reason why the harm reduction services came out, wasn't it?
No, actually not. The harm reduction services were already in place, but it was very low key.
Okay.
So I got involved in harm reduction 12, 15 years ago, maybe.
Okay.
And that started, it'll be about 12, 13 years ago. And that started with putting on steroid awareness nights with the local needle exchange.
Yes.
And I was getting more and more involved with that. So I was already getting involved with John Moores University Hospital. I'd already done a couple of radio shows on their behalf. And I'd spoke at the HIT National Conference, and I'd spoke at the John Moores Drug Specialty Conference. Now, at that point, I was very much the token drug user who could string a sentence together. So I was first on, I was the warm-up act, and I wasn't really considered academically in any way, but I was put there because I could talk about drugs, I could talk about them honestly and openly and from life experience. And then I was dieting to compete at the British, and I got down to, I think I was about 306 pounds at about 11% on a 7-point caliper, so how accurate that is anyone's guess. And I just didn't want to do it, is the honest answer. With Alvin Small, a mate of mine who talked me into it. And I just got to the point where I thought, I really don't want to do it. I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing it for everybody else.
Mm.
You know, this is everybody else that wants to see me in condition, not me. And so I toyed with it for a long time. I was sponsored by SSN, so I spoke to them about whether they would, you know, blow the sponsorship off if I didn't compete and all the rest of it. And eventually I came to the decision that, oh, fuck it, I'm not doing it. Now, I spoke at long length to SSN's UK distributor about, because we'd done Body Power that year, and obviously Rich Piano was when Rich Piano first really hit the scene massive.
Mm.
So Rich Piano was this breath of fresh air because he was telling the truth. And I watched a couple of his videos and thought, no, it's not, he's full of shit. He's telling his version of the truth and he's risking enough to make him sound like he's genuine. It's called marketing. He was not a bad guy, don't get me wrong. I met Rich a few times and he's a nice lad. He really was. He had a few demons, unfortunately, like we all do, but he was a very, very nice guy. But he wasn't telling the truth. Far from it, wasn't telling the truth. But he was telling more than anyone else had.
Okay.
So we discussed that my next off-season post-comp was going to be documented and would be the British version of Rich Piano in the sense that we were going to show everything.
Okay.
Now, SSN had a brand called Muscle Junkie, which was their hardcore bodybuilding brand. So they were very keen to sort of tag it in with that. But when it went to head office, head office said, no, we're not having anything to do with the steroid user. It's not happening. So I turned around and just said, well, no disrespect, but I'm really sold on this idea because not only do I think it would be good, but I think it'd be very good in the way of harm reduction because I'll show every side of it. I'll show shit. I'll show good. It doesn't make a difference. And they said, okay, fair enough. Well, we'll shake hands and call it a day, which is what we did. So I stopped dieting for the comp and I started bulking. I'd always through that diet, particularly the last sort of 3-4 months of it, I'd felt that I was holding myself back. And I've always known I can grow. Mm. And I thought, let's just see how far I can go. Now, when you say to somebody, I'm trying to get as big as I possibly can, that conjures up very different differences to very different people, depending on what their experience of big is.
Yeah.
And even now, people that haven't seen me at my biggest really struggle to grasp mentally how big my biggest actually was. Mm. I mean, at my largest, I had a 74-inch chest and a 26.5-inch arm. Mm. You know, I couldn't get a tape measure around my chest. A 16-inch tape measure stopped back here. And so people really just couldn't grasp it. So I put a number on it. And the number was 400 pounds. And the only reason I picked the number was because I remember reading about Greg Kovacs, who was 6'5", being 400 pounds in the off-season. So it just stuck in my head. That's where the number came from. So I set off, and it was several fold was this. It was one, I'd always wanted to see how big I could get. I was always a little bit obsessed with size. I was always going to be a mass monster. Two, it was a great way to learn myself what it was like to run very high doses of drugs. Mm-hmm. And three, it was a great opportunity to show people a true reflection of how steroids impact you. And then there was no films considered or any of that. And then literally just as I was coming to the end of the project, James Grealish messaged me, and we'd been mates and done a couple of other projects together. He messaged me and said, I'd like to do a film about what you're doing. So really, to be honest, the Under Construction film was more his brainchild. Now, the Under Construction, the Freak name actually came from the head honcho at SSN in the UK because they were looking at launching Freak Muscle. Yeah. So the name was chosen to piggyback into that. It never actually happened. I personally don't like the fucking name, but I'm stuck with it. Yeah. So James came up. He messaged me and said, look, I can't afford it. Can you lend me some money? I said, yeah, no problem. So I paid for his fuel. He came up. We filmed for 3 days, and that was UC1. Okay. And the rest is history from that point, really. I mean, UC1 was very mixed reviews. I think a lot of people didn't get what I was about. I think that was one of the problems with UC1 when it was first released. It was very much an everyman's hero film rather than all the other films that were all pro bodybuilders, all in condition. this sort of gave hope to the fat bastards in the world that if they trained hard and did well, they could actually get some sort of size and something about them.
Yeah.
And it didn't seem to resonate with a lot of people who were more competitive level bodybuilding.
Yeah.
By the time the second one came out, which was a much different, much darker film, people had a lot better understanding of who I was and what I was about. And that gained a much better reception. It's a completely different film. It deals with things in a very different way. And retrospectively, I think we could have done certain things with that, where it potentially needed some explanation of what was going on within me mentally.
Yeah.
But those that have been down the rabbit hole of drug use will recognise where I'm starting to disappear up my own arse when it comes to using drugs and not looking at my training and not looking at my diet, and sat there thinking, what else can I take that's going to make me massive? And that was the stage we'd got to, where the drugs became primary. So I think we could have probably exploited that a bit more in the film, but either way, I mean, I'm still very proud of what we produced. I don't like watching them because I don't like watching myself, but I'm still very proud of what we produced. And they are genuine and they are honest, and there is no editing in there to make things look any different to what it is. The weights and the sessions are what they are. There's no fake weights, there's no staging, there's no just catching a certain angle so it looks like you've done more reps than what you have. What you see is what happened.
Yeah.
And it's brutally honest in that way. It wasn't always to my benefit that we did it like that, because there are other films out there with lifters that are shown in a certain light that is very, very positive when it comes to the lifting. So I got criticism for some of the weights I was using and things like that. But I'm a big boy. I can pull my own pants up, and to a degree, I don't really give a fuck what anyone else thinks.
Yeah.
The people that I care about what they think. But some fucking specky four-eyed 14-year-old kid living in his mum's basement in America deciding to be a keyboard warrior doesn't really bother me. I did get defensive on the first one, and I learned very, very quickly how to deal with trolls and criticism. That was a steep learning curve, I must admit, but I did get a little bit defensive on the first one, and I took a few things quite personal, and then I just realised it was ridiculous. And by the second one, it was like, whatever. You know what I mean? I've nearly killed myself doing this shit. How do you think I'm really bothered what you think?
Well, this is it. So this is what we really wanted to kind of like dive into, wasn't it? About the true effects of steroids and being very, very open about it. Now, Jack has just recently started his very first cycle. I'm still a dirty natty, which you will kindly take the piss out of me for, Dave. But I am still a dirty natty. But it's all about the education aspect of things, about realistically, there's nothing wrong with getting into steroids, and quite honestly, there's so many different subcultures of people who do turn to steroids for a number of reasons, which we talk about on a regular basis. But we want to just kind of highlight the true side effects. So now we're not going to compare Jack to you, for example, but from your perspective and from your anecdotal experience of doing so much more volume of drugs, what were the side effects that you initially experienced, and what have you been left with now?
Awesomeness.
Yeah.
I'm just awesome.
One big pile of awesome.
Yes, I am. I'm one big bucket full of awesome. The drugs themselves are not safe, and anyone that pretends that they are safe is a fucking idiot. There are risks at any dose with any cycle. Obviously, the greater the dose and the greater the period of time you're on, the greater the risk becomes. But they're not safe. Those risks can be managed, and those risks need to be put into context. I mean, one example of this is if I OD on paracetamol, I will be dead.
Yes.
If I OD on steroids, I won't. Not immediately. But having said that, the biggest risk is probably cardiovascular, heart, cholesterol, and there are some elements to steroids that make them silent killers, and they are probably quite innocent effects to the layman, but the problem is it's the duration that you experience these effects for that creates problems. Side effects range massively from individuals, and you've got two issues going on here. You've got side effects from the actual drugs, which is stuff like water retention, acne. There can be levels of paranoia and anxiety with certain drugs. There's no doubt steroids do cause aggression as well. But then there's more health impacts. And probably the one thing that all steroids do, irrespective of dose or duration, is they will disrupt your cholesterol. Now, cholesterol is our raw material for hormone production. When you're taking hormones, you don't make them yourself anymore. So as a result, you don't use that raw material. So immediately you're going to see an increase in LDL. That can be regulated to some degree if you're very tight on your diet. Obviously, the big issue with a lot of people is that when they're trying to put on size, diet tends to be not such a big concern, and it's more volume of food. And if people are particularly struggle to eat large volumes of food, then it becomes very shit-based, and they start just saying, well, I just need to get calories in. No, you don't. You know, a calorie is not a calorie is not a calorie. I'm telling you, the macros of McDonald's do not equal the same macros if you have lean beef and potatoes. Definitely not the impact in your body. So where sometimes the effects are compounded is the fact that the diet the person is running at that time. Now, the other effect of particularly oral steroids and certain medications that are used to control side effects of steroids is that they reduce HDL.
Yeah.
So now we have a twofold attack, because we've not only got LDL going up, we've got HDL going down. So we've got a decrease in the good cholesterol that acts as an arterial scrubber. I mean, in layman's terms, HDL is a road sweeper. It runs around the fucking arteries and gives them clean. And HDL just drops shit out of his arse. LDL just drops shit out of his arse everywhere it goes and clogs the arteries up.
Yeah.
That's very oversimplified, but it's a very easy way of explaining it. So when those ratios get out of whack, you start ending up with more clogging up and less cleaning. 6 months? Probably not a big issue. But if that's left unchecked for 3, 4, 5 years, then we can start seeing problems.
Yeah.
One of the other impacts of steroids is that they increase RBC, they increase your red blood cell, they increase your hematocrit. All these elements are increased, so your blood thickens. So now we have a narrowing of pipes, thickening of the liquid that's going through it. This creates an increase in pressure. So your blood pressure is going to rise. Now, it might not rise beyond ranges, but it will be higher than what is normal for you. An increase in blood pressure will stiffen the arterial wall. The other thing is now that we have a pump called our heart that pumps all this shit around our body. When your blood's thick, your heart's going to struggle to pump. So it has to try and pump harder. As it does, the heart wall thickens, the myocardium thickens, the heart is a muscle. Now as that heart wall gets thickened, it gets less flexible. You flex a thin piece of paper and then try and flex a thick speaking card. Exactly the same scenario.
Yeah.
So now it can't flex its full range of motion. The heartbeat, the heart pulse gets lower, shallower. So it doesn't move as much blood with each beat. So it has to move blood more frequently. So it has to pump faster. And this is how you get arrhythmias. You get irregular heartbeats and heart failure. The downside of this as well is that if you're not shoving the blood around your body as fast as you normally would, then it will start to increase red blood cells because it's trying to move more oxygen in a short space of time because it's not moving quick enough.
Yeah.
But the downside of thickened blood is it doesn't carry oxygen very well. Now, we see this when we bloodlet. When you bloodlet thick blood, it's dark. Yeah. And when you get that person's blood down, and it might take 2 or 3 sessions, it changes colour to a much brighter, fleshier look, and that's because it's carrying more oxygen. So all these things compound over time. You know, you're not going to drop dead off your first cycle, but if you don't go in with your eyes open about setting management in place from the offset, then these problems start to build up in the background. And the problem is with cholesterol, it's quick to change one way and bloody slow as fuck to change about the other. Elevating HDL is a slow process. It takes time. So it is a bugger to manage once it gets knocked out. So you're better keeping it in range in the first instance. There are more direct problems with specific drugs, but they're the two probably big health impacts you're going to get from just steroids as a broad spectrum.
Right.
Blood pressure is a concern. You can get acne, you can get hair loss, but they're all specific to certain types of drugs, whereas the impact on HDL and the impact on blood thickness is pretty much uniform across all drugs.
Right. And was this some of the things that you experienced?
My hematocrit sat at 211.
Wow.
Should be 170. Well, I'd say it shouldn't be 170. It should be less than 170.
Less than 170, absolutely.
And I've had ongoing high hemo and RBC ever since.
Okay.
I have heart failure. When I was originally diagnosed, it was severe. It's now classed as very mild, and should, if I continue on the way I'm going, should be regarded as being back into normal ranges with my next checkup in 3 months' time.
Oh, brilliant.
And my kidney function is 28%, and it will never get better, and it will kill me.
Mm-hmm. Not now, not today.
The problem is with that is it could kill me tomorrow, it could kill me in a week, it could kill me in a month, it could kill me in 10 years, it could kill me in 20 years. I don't know. Mm. If it suddenly decides it's had enough and drops, boom, I've got problems. I mean, I'll be on dialysis, but I've got problems, big problems. I've got FSGS, nephrotic syndrome.
Yeah, yeah. And these are all of the potential side effects that you're trying to warn people about. Now, one of the biggest things that you open my eyes open to is forums. Because I'm a big researcher. I'm in the medical industry myself, being a registered nurse. I know how to research, and I know what to look for in terms of being adequate research, and I know how to compound that research. But I actually researched a subject that you told me to research in a very, very different or wrong way, and I wasn't actually getting the correct information. So you told me to look at forums, and that's what I dove into. Now, Jack, have you ever gone into any kind of bodybuilding drug forums whatsoever?
They're terrible. They're just terrible.
They're quite scary, aren't they? Because I did a bit of research on a specific subject and went over to Dave, phoned him, and I was like, Jesus Christ, do people actually listen to this?
You do.
So,
that's the scary thing.
It is, isn't it? And so what do you find is like the biggest problems with people listening in forums these days?
Well, the biggest problem is that people educate others. I don't think anybody goes out to misinform somebody, unless you're potentially a drug dealer, then maybe you would, it's business then, so to speak.
Sure.
But, I mean, every drug dealer's got the best gear in the world, whether it's coke, weed, ease, fucking steroids. It doesn't matter. They are the best you'll ever get, mate. Oh. No drug dealer goes, well, look, my gear's shit, but I might have some decent stuff next week. It just doesn't happen. But most people inform based on their own knowledge.
Yeah.
And the problem is that the culture in bodybuilding and steroid use in general to be responsible and do blood testing has improved, but it's not improved massively. And so people just aren't aware of what happens. So if someone goes on a forum and says, oh, I've got a problem with this. Oh, it's this, mate, take this. And they take that, and that problem goes away. They assume that that is the fix for that problem. And it's not necessarily the case. Quite often the problem went away all of its own, or it went away due to something else, or you've even created a bigger problem. Mm. I have this conversation literally with people 20, 30 times a day. Well, my mate says this. Well, your mate's a fucking dick. he might not be meaning to be, but he's talking out of his fucking ass. There was a post went up in one of the pages I hang around in the other day that his mate was taking these awful tablets, and he'd been sold in by his other mate, and they were corticosteroids.
Right.
They weren't even anabolic, but because it had steroid in the name, they knew no different. They thought it was steroids. So you can argue that, well, people have a responsibility to educate themselves. Yes, they do. But if someone's asking a friend who they feel is educated, then isn't that a responsible way of educating yourself?
Mm.
You know, people come to me for advice because they feel I know what I'm talking about.
Only just.
Yeah, most of the time. I do wing it a bit now and again as well, but
Yeah.
but the thing is, it's like, you know, they trust in what I say. I've got no qualifications.
Mm.
You can't get qualified in this shit.
No, and that's the thing, isn't it? It's completely unregulated.
Yeah.
And,
I mean,
you can't do it.
I am probably the closest you get to a certified expert in steroids in the country because of the legal work I do.
Sure.
But that doesn't really carry over into harm reduction work I do. The two fields are very, very different in the aspects of steroids I'm talking about.
Mm.
You know, in legal work, I'm talking about supply chains, how they're manufactured, how they're passed on, what this means, what that means, what valuations are. I'm not talking about some bloke not being able to get a hard on when his missus anymore because he's taking too much of this, that, or the other.
Yeah.
But so people don't generally purposely misinform. But also, as human beings, we suffer very badly from cognitive dissonance, and what we try and do is justify our actions because no one wants to look at what they're doing as being stupid.
Mm.
And I've made myself unpopular several times because I tend not to mince my words when it comes to stuff like that. I just did it to a guy online 10 minutes ago who asked me opinion on his physique. I said, "You're a fat fuck."
Yeah. Brilliant.
And he just spent previously online in a chat defending his condition and saying he wasn't. I didn't do it publicly. I told him if he wanted to mess with me, I'd give him my honest advice, and I have done, and I've advised him what to do. But I'm not going to mince my words.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, it's just misinformation led by misinformation led by misinformation, and that's part of the problem. The other problem is what we term bro science.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The biggest issue for most people is that when they ask your advice, they're not asking your advice because they want you to tell them what to do. What they want you to do is tell them that, yes, what they're doing is okay.
Yeah.
So you'll come and say, "I'm doing this, this, and this." And I'll go, "Well, that's fucking stupid." So they go somewhere else and they go, "Oh, yeah, mate, great cycle." "Oh, yeah, and that's all they need. So now they're justified. Because it's like when you say get bloods. So they get bloods and they go, "Well, that don't look so bad, does it?" And you're like, "No, actually it does. It looks fucking shit."
Yeah.
"Oh, no, it's not that bad. I mean, wouldn't be that. It's not as bad as somebody who drinks or smokes. At least I'm not doing that." What fucking difference does that make? I absolutely hate that argument.
Yeah.
Well, I take steroids, but at least I'm not drinking and smoking. No. And the drinkers and smokers, at least they're not taking heroin.
Yeah.
What fucking difference does it make what somebody else is doing?
Yeah, if it's bad.
You know, yeah, well, I'm just going to chop my foot off because that bloke chopped his whole leg off, so I'm obviously better than him. It's fucking idiotic, but that's part of human nature. You know, we struggle with honesty, especially if it reflects something we've invested time and money into. And obviously training and diet and drugs is a huge investment of our money and our time and our effort and everything else, and to some degrees our health.
Oh, totally.
And so people don't want to then be told, "Well, sorry, mate, for the last 2 years, you've just wasted your time and you've fucked yourself up."
Yeah.
So if someone says, "Oh, well, if you just do this, you'll be fine," they'll jump at it. Where when I turn around and say, "Well, first thing you need to get is bloods because we need to see what's really going on, because sat here trying to guesswork it, yeah, we might be right, but we might be wrong because high estrogen can cause that, high prolactin can cause that, and high progesterone can cause that. So which one is it?"
Yeah.
And if we get it wrong, say it's high prolactin and it's not estrogen, and we slam estrogen down through the floor, prolactin's going to go even fucking higher.
Yeah.
So and obviously that requires expense. And people are perfectly happy to spend 35 to 45 quid on a bottle of gear. But when you say, "Well, you have to spend 80 quid on a test," I'm not doing that. That's a bit expensive. And what should be happening is people should be building the testing costs into the cost of their cycles.
Totally.
Because it's part of what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to drive a car, you get a driving license, that costs you money. You buy insurance, that costs you money. And you service it, and you MOT it, and you tax it. Otherwise, you don't drive the car. So why is it when it comes to steroids, all we're doing is buying the car?
Because people want the easy road. And that's what we learned quite a lot, isn't it? People who tend to go towards steroids are the people who, and Jack, don't take this offensively because I know that you're going to be like, oh, the people who do turn to that are more lazy when it comes to their nutrition and their training.
Not always, but yes.
No.
But the steroids are no easy route.
Mm.
It doesn't make the training any easier. In fact, it makes the training harder because you're going to move more load than you would normally move, and you're going to feel just as fucked, if not more fucked afterwards.
Yeah.
So the training element becomes harder. Diet shouldn't change anyway either.
No.
But yes, there are people that use steroids as a quick fix because their training shit or their diet's fake.
Yeah.
But these are the same people that never progress year on year, go on gear, blow up, come off gear, drop down in size again.
Yeah.
Because they're relying on the drugs to create the growth, and there's no drugs there, they can't sustain the growth.
Yeah.
If you build a natural foundation and you create natural growth, then all the drugs do is speed the process up.
Mm-hmm.
But training naturally is damn sight fucking easier than training on gear if you're doing it right.
Mm.
Diet's about the same. The problem with the gear assisted side of things is you will feel rougher longer because you're doing more than your body was designed to do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's a large percentage of people that rely on drugs to cover holding shit diet. And I've seen it time and time again. Look, mate, you need to sort your diet. Oh, I'll just take more fat burns.
Yeah.
So there is that big attitude as well. So it is a mix. There are guys that are very, very dedicated, and to some degree, it is true that if you're on drugs, you can get away with little misdemeanors that you might not be able to get away with as a natural. But there is another side to that as well, in that you're going to suffer with much more problems than you would if you were natural.
Yeah.
It gets so much more complex when you're on gear. Because
Indeed.
you're now just not managing diet and training, you're also managing chemicals and chemical side effects and all that side of stuff.
Sure.
There are huge impacts in the brain, both chemically, but also through the process of choosing to use drugs and psychologically. I mean, if you pose this question to somebody and you say, you know, something, I had this lad the other day and he was going to start taking these drugs and they were going to basically mean he would have to take drugs for the rest of his life. And he was just doing it so he could look good.
Mm.
Most people are going to go, fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Hold on a minute. You just described a steroid user.
Mm-hmm.
Because most people take it for cosmetic reasons. I don't stand in judgment in that, but that's the truth. For 80% of steroid users, they will permanently fuck their endocrine system, so they will need to be on steroids for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
That's a statistical fact. So, well done, serving bitch. Now be gone, varlet.
Was that your wonderful wife?
No, it's my daughter.
I was going to say. Speak to your wife like that. She's
Oh, I got belted like that. She's going skiing in Italy in the morning, so I've got every right to give her abuse. It's costing me a
perfectly fine. Okay, then that's fine.
You know, so when you look at the structure of choosing to inject a drug, now we are brought up with the worst type of drug use is injectable drugs, because the injectable drug user means heroin user.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So an injectable drug user is the worst type of drug, but we now look at it that, well, you're allowed to do that if it makes you look better.
Mm-hmm. So
it's a real conflict for people moralistically and socially in where they fit this in what they do. And a lot of people are constantly in turmoil about it. Some people regard it as cheating. Personally, I don't. As long as you don't compete as a natural or pretend you are natural, then I don't see the issue. There's room for both.
Jack cheats.
But
my whole life.
Yeah, I've heard. It's a difficult decision process making. Decision process.
Yeah,
decision making process. Thank you. And it's individual to each person that chooses to use. But a lot of people just don't understand what they're doing.
Mm.
And they don't realise the implications. And they don't realise how it can affect you. And then when they start to get the symptoms, they don't understand them, so they ignore them.
Yeah.
Education is the only way you're going to deal with steroid use. But you are finding out, young Victoria, it is mightily complex when you start getting into it.
Jesus Christ, I'm not actually going to lie. The lesson 4 that we put together, that one was just like, oh, holy shit.
Yeah.
I got sent my homework because Dave sent me homework. And I got sent my homework before the lesson started. And it was about, what was it, 37 pages, 37 Word documents, something along those lines. And he said, have you received your work? Yes. Have you printed it off? Fucking hell, Dave. No, I haven't. It's like 37 pages. But going through each and every individual common drug, not so common drug, different names, street names, side effect, its anabolic to androgenic level, what it can possibly do, side effects, and then what you have to pair with it to counteract the side effect to that potential side, was just like, it was mind fucking, was the easiest way of explaining it.
Complex science. Right.
The problem is it's a very inexact science because science hasn't spent enough time looking at it. So we rely on anecdotal evidence and on bodybuilders' feedback to really get the better picture. Because certain things happen within steroid use that medically are claimed not to be possible. So it is, you've got to blend the two, and it takes experience to know when to blend the two.
Indeed.
And quite often you have to go and look in fields of research that have nothing to do with steroid use to see if you can see something that justifies the reaction that you're seeing in a person regarding the drug. And it doesn't help that people lie like fuck about what they do as well, even when they're asking for help.
Exactly. That doesn't help. I mean, this is what I learned when I had to dive into the whole research element of things, because I was researching like a medical person would research, and you can't research like that in the drug industry. I mean, it's insanely interesting. And what I found really interesting about what you were just speaking there is what Jack actually has been experiencing over the last 2 weeks, where he was saying, I'm making insane strength gains, like massive jumps in the gym. Where I want to increase my weight that I use in the gym, I add a 2.5 plate or I add a 1.25 plate on the stack. You know, Jack will go from like, what did you do the other day? You went from like half the stack to the stack and still managed to rep it. And we're like, you know, oh, were those reps okay? It's like, yeah, but you've like jumped half the stack.
It's funny. I went over to my old training partner. My old training partner, Dom, has been my training partner for over 20 years. So he knows every stage of my training, has been involved in every stage of my training.
Yeah.
And we got onto this subject. He actually reminded, and I'd forgotten completely about this. We didn't have washers. 1.25s and 2.5s didn't exist. If they did, they were used for sticking under the door and keeping it open.
Yeah.
They didn't use for anything else. 5s were used to level out machines and just prop things up. Yeah. If you're a weak ass bastard, you might add a 10. But generally, it was just a 20. And he said, he turned around and said, I actually remember going to put a 10 on the bar one day, and you turning around and go, what the fuck's that? Get it off, put some proper fucking weight on. And it was true, we went up in 20s. You know. And there's something to be said for the old school of training. And part of that is because we knew no different. Yeah. And the prime example of that you see now is because of the internet, we get access to training communities all over the world.
You could have carried on speaking.
That's okay. Didn't want to. It was rude to speak without you. But we get access to training communities all over the world. And you'll see guys in Africa lifting up railway sleepers and bits of concrete and all sorts of shit with good physiques. Yeah. Yeah, there's a genetic element to that, but also it's because that's what they've got. Yeah. And they make it too. And then you've got people in the US and the UK turning up with every brand of fucking sports equipment known to mankind strapped to their arsehole. Yeah. And physiques that look like sacks of shit. I could name a few names, but I won't. You know where I'm going. So I know, yeah. But, you know, and I was chatting to Andy Bolton the other week about this as well, because he's quite local to me. And he was saying, you know what? He said, back in the day, we were squatting 400 kilo raw.
Mm.
Now, these days in powerlifting, that'd be a big deal. He said, but there were 8 of us in the gym that could do it, so it went out special.
Yeah.
And that's how it was. You know, I grew up in gyms training with people like Kev Taylor, Ian Harrison, Billy Payne, who was Dorian's training partner. I've trained with all sorts of nutters over the year. And that's just how it was. And that's sort of got lost a little bit now because people have gone overly technical and overly science with this, that, and the other. And it's like, you can't avoid the fact that you have to lift some big-ass weights and hurt yourself.
Yep.
Otherwise, it's not going to happen. And the training is the most important of it all because that's what triggers the response for growth.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is strange how the technical age has, to some degree, dragged training backwards and held it back.
I have to agree. I really do. I mean, sometimes we focus too much on the technical element and the perfect setup and the perfect this and the perfect that. And it's just like, just pick up heavy shit, put it back down again.
We spoke about this before, Vicky. Like, people are actually restricting themselves by overthinking it.
Yeah.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so. Some of the best, biggest physiques I've seen in my life are on some of the dumbest folks I've ever met because they just go in and lift big weights and don't know anything better.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I did think the other day about this. If you stopped or if you pressed the button or you had the infinity stones and you went like that and all the drugs disappeared, all the steroids, all the performance enhancing drugs, all the fat burners, everything disappeared off the planet. They were no longer available. No one ever even knew about them. They didn't exist. I reckon over 75% of people currently engaged in the gym and training would stop within 3 months.
Oh, that easily. Totally.
Because they wouldn't see progress, and so they wouldn't sustain it. None of us carry on doing shit that we don't like that isn't actually getting us somewhere.
I know, you don't do cardio anymore.
I cleaned my teeth this morning. It's cardio, isn't it?
What did you do this morning?
Cleaned my teeth.
Oh yeah, that's repetitive cardio.
I did it vigorously.
Oh, okay. Be careful of that tendonitis though, because if you do it at the wrong angle, then you know you're buggered.
Get an impingement.
I'm first to admit that my desire to do cardio and my desire to diet have never been strong.
No, but never mind. But
the thing is, I can eat boiled chicken and rice 10 times a day at ridiculous huge amounts, and I have no interest and no bother and no problem at all sticking to that, force feeding to the point where I'm throwing up.
Yeah.
Every day, day in, day out, never missing a beat, eating every hour and a half without fault. As soon as you say to me, diet, I go to pieces.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's pathetic. It really is. And the bottom line is I don't desire to be lean enough.
No.
Because if I wanted it, I'd do it.
Yeah.
And that's the ultimate behind it, is I just don't want it enough.
Yeah, exactly. Just shave off a couple of unwanted pounds and that'll be fine. But being lean is a totally different ball game.
I'm going to drop 4 stone. Ed's made up. Ed's done. It's happening. I don't care whatever.
It is happening.
I'm going to drop 4 stone.
So I've got to keep you in check for these 4 stone.
No, not at all. I'll give you a shout when I get to a point where things probably need readjusting, but at the moment everything's fine. And it probably will be fine for the next 2 months. I dropped 2 stone last time I followed that diet, no problem.
Yeah, you did.
And then it just started to slow down a bit and I got frustrated. But that wasn't the diet's problem, that was me.
Yeah.
But no, it's, like I say, I need to change. I know I do. The thing is, it's all right being massive when you're carrying huge amounts of muscle and being ridiculously strong and training like an absolute fucking demon possessed every day. It's not all right carrying huge amounts of weight when you're predominantly fat and you're training like Minnie Mouse and, you know, you don't have much intensity in your life at all. So... It's
interesting. But no, like you were saying, just obviously circling back to what we were just talking about from there, if we got rid of all of the drugs and just told people to diet properly or take care of their nutrition properly and just train fucking hard, 70% of the gym would be quiet.
Yeah.
The gym industry would collapse overnight.
Yeah.
And you know, as much so, yeah, you can start about steroids, but there's much so fat burners for women.
Yeah.
But see, a lot of people use the gym as justification for their lifestyle. It's that cognitive dissonance again. You know, well, I can have this peach from this glass of wine because I've been to gym 5 days this week. Yeah, but you're still a size 22, love.
Yeah, yeah.
Just because you've been to gym 5 times a week doesn't suddenly make you fit and healthy. You're still huge. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But she's having a Diet Coke with it, so it's fine.
And this is, I mean, this pisses me off massively. All fat shaming. How is it fat shaming? You're fat.
Yeah.
I'm fat. It's a descriptive word. I am fat. There's no shaming about that. It's just the truth.
Yeah.
You know?
But you see, you're not allowed to say that because you can't determine someone's body by what their body shape is. That's like saying you are fingernails. You don't become fingernails. You have fingernails. You not are fingernails. I'm like, fuck.
All right, I have fat then.
Exactly. But you see, this is the thing. And it's like calling me small. I am. I'm a short ass. I don't get offended by it, but other people do when they call them small. And it's all this. Exactly. I'm a midget. I don't care. Actually, technically, I'm not a midget because I've got to be under a certain height to be a midget. And midgets are taller than dwarfs. What do you say?
How far are you off that height?
She's not. She's under it. That's the problem. She's not tall enough to be a midget.
Do you know, I actually found out the other day that legally, if I'm a passenger in a car, I have got to have a child's booster seat.
Wow.
I know. I know, right?
That's got to happen.
Why do you think I always drive?
That's got to happen. Oh, God.
Are you driving the next time we have coffee then? Just
definitely, I'm getting a booster seat and making you sit in it.
Yeah.
But it's true. Now, if there was a drug that was out there that I could take to make myself taller, would I do it? I don't know. Kind of like my small package. I wouldn't be the tiny titan at that point, would I?
Oh, your identity.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people struggle with it. I mean, this is one of the things that drives steroid use so hard because a lot of people struggle with accepting who they are.
Yeah.
And it's probably the most difficult thing you can do in your life is be honest with yourself, but be honest in yourself in a way that's non-judgmental. Honesty doesn't have a right or wrong. It simply is the statement of facts. And people get so offended about the reality of what they are, and it's like, you don't need to be. You know, it's not a judgment. I am fat. I am bold. I can be abrasive. I'm not the most politically correct individual on the planet. I have people, that don't like me. Shock horror.
Yeah.
I'm not offended by any of that. I'm not offended if Jack thinks I'm a fucking arsehole. He's entitled to that opinion. And if he thinks I'm an arsehole, then fine, crack on, mate. Not a problem. I'll have a problem if you start trying to be a prick with me. But, you know, if you think I'm an arsehole, then I'll avoid you. You avoid me. Everybody's happy. But people struggle with no, but you know what I mean? People struggle with this. People struggle and they get defensive. What are you defending it for?
Yeah.
You know, because somebody thinks you're not the person you perceive you to be, doesn't mean you're right. Maybe it's time to go sit in a dark cupboard and actually have a proper look at yourself, because the sooner you accept who you are, then the sooner you can change that if that person is not who you want to be.
Yeah.
Very true.
And if you don't, then you come to terms with accepting who you are. And I think that's probably why I struggle with diet, because I sort of accept where I am.
Yeah.
And there's no big motivator to check. I'm doing it for health reasons. That's the only reason I'm doing it, because I'm 25 stone. And I don't want to be lugging 25 stone around now. I'm getting the wrong side of 50. But otherwise, I don't care visually about what I look like. I was upset when I stopped all the gear and stopped all the training, about losing the strength. But at the same time, I could never sustain that level of power and that level of size. It was impossible.
Yeah.
You know, and I'd created a rod for my own back with that. That took some getting it down. But, I mean, going back to what we're supposed to be talking about, which is steroids and harms and such like, the thing you've got to realise is, one, they are not safe. But two, you can manage these problems if you educate yourself about the problems.
Yeah.
And one thing that really pisses me off, especially when people have had problems with steroids and say, oh, I won't use Deca, it fucked me up. Well, the drug didn't mess you up, mate. Your use of the drug messed you up because you didn't recognise how the drug worked and failed to manage it correctly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Trembolone, most powerful commercially available steroid we have, also the most toxic, and it has huge impacts in brain chemistry, changes people's personalities, all sorts of things. You can't blame Tren if you end up with huge anxiety after using Tren.
Yeah.
Because you took the drug. The drug didn't walk up, climb up your nostrils and get inside your body. You did it. So it's not the drug's fault, it's your fault. And people just won't take responsibility.
Mm.
You know, I mean, unfortunately, I have to be the bearer of bad news sometimes with people and tell them that they're never going to have kids, that they're going to be on drugs for the rest of their life. And the anxiety problems that they currently have will probably never go away, but they should learn to cope and manage them better than they currently are.
Yeah.
And sometimes people are completely devastated by this. And it's like, well, didn't you think this was a risk when you started? It's like pointing a loaded gun at your head and pulling the trigger and then complaining because you shot yourself. It's like, whoa, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, if you're going to put something, and this is a big issue I have with coaches or people online advising, if you're going to give people advice to your best of your knowledge, that's fine. But you should also then take responsibility if those people get fucked up.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If you're not sure, don't fucking say.
Thank you. Thank you. The amount of times that I've said, if you don't know what you're talking about, stop fucking talking.
The thing is, people think they know, but just caveat it. Just say, well, look, this is what I've done, and this is what's happened, and this is why I've done it. I'm not sure if this is right, but it seemed to work for me.
Yeah.
Then at least people know it's not steadfast and there's an element of doubt about what's going on there.
Mm.
But some of them, honestly, just drives you insane.
I know, mate. I'm in it.
I
think
I
it's
see.
a really nice point to leave it actually on by saying, you know, just be honest with yourself and just do your research as best as you can, especially if the coach is going to advise you to do anything like that, whether it be steroids or whether it just be nutrition and training. You've got to have somebody who realistically knows what they're talking about, really.
If your coach is pushing you to start steroids, get another coach.
Yes.
Exactly. It has to be your decision.
If your coach is pushing you on steroids and they sell steroids, well, there's your answer.
Yeah.
If your coach says to achieve that, you're going to need chemicals, that's a different scenario.
Correct, yeah.
Because some people's realistic expectations of what they can do naturally are way above and beyond because they've seen pictures on Instagram and Facebook of people claiming to be natural that are juiced out of their eyeballs.
Correct, yeah.
Don't get me wrong, you can achieve a lot more than you realise as well. The flip side of that is people think they can't achieve anything without steroids, and that's absolute bollocks as well.
Mm.
The most successful way with producing probably the best physique you can for what you put in is to actually limit your exposure to technology.
Yeah.
And just stick to the basics of a clean basic diet, which we all know, and hard training.
Yeah.
And then when things start to stall out, then you start to look for something else. But you'd be shocked how far you can go with just those basic principles if you apply them hard and well.
Exactly. Look at me. Dirty, natty, massive.
Boom.
There you go. The largest pygmy in the land.
You shitbag.
But, I mean, the thing is, this I've used this story a couple of times. It was told to me a long time ago. I don't know how true it is, but the story goes that they have this big walking race in Australia. And this farmer, who was a sheep farmer, decided he was going to enter.
Right.
So, I mean, the sheep farms over there are thousands and thousands of acres. So all he did was he stopped using his quad as much and would walk a bit more around the farm when he was doing his chores. So the day of the race came, and he turned up with his bag full of his picnic and his best boots on with a bit of gaffer tape wrapped around them. He turns up to register and do the race, and there's all these teams sponsored by Red Bull and fucking this energy drink and this supplement company, and there's a doctor and there's masseuse and a support member and a support vehicle, and he's got his little canvas rucksack, bit of scran in the back of it, and his walking boots. So he sets off, and the deal is that you'll get to a checkpoint which will have a card and a punch. You've got you either got the card or they've got a punch, or vice versa. But anyway, you punch it and you move on.
Okay.
So after a while, he's all on his own. Now, he'd soon straight away, well, I'm lost. But, I'll just keep going anyway, so I say it, don't I? Now, he works, big sheep farm, lambing season. He's used to going 2-3 days with no fucking sleep at all.
Hmm.
So on a night, he's putting his head down, he's getting a quick couple of hours, then he's up and walking again. He gets to the finish line, and he's the first one there and beats the track record by a day and a half. And he's interviewed afterwards, and they're like, what? How did you do that? How did you smash the track record in a pair of old boots with a rucksack on your back? But all these teams have got all this technology, all these doctors, everything else, nutritionists. How did you do that? They said, well, I just walked. He said, well, did you sleep? And I said, well, not much. And he said, well, why not? So I didn't know I could.
Mm-hmm.
And the limitations of technology put on everybody else, that they had to get 6 or 8 hours sleep a night, they had to do this, they had to do this warm down, they had to do these massages and everything else. The old fella just got up and kept going.
Yeah.
Because no one told him he couldn't.
Mm.
If you apply that basic principle to training, you'd be shocked how far you can get. I mean, I was told many moons ago I had the piss taken out of me. Now, I trained in a proper bodybuilder's gym, big heavyweights, big heavy lads. Let me give you an example. You weren't classed as someone that could bench until you hit 4 plates.
Right, okay.
Most gyms these days don't have anyone benching 4 plates in them. We would have had 20 odd doing it. If you could bench 3, yeah, you were all right, I suppose. Once you could bench 4, you were a bencher.
Yeah.
Once you could squat 7, 6, you were a squatter, and once you could deadlift 7, you were a deadlifter.
Yeah.
Up to that point, you just played at those exercises, and that's how it worked. So we were going out one night, and as we went out the fire exit to go around the back door. We were all going out to the gym to do something extra. I can't remember what it was. And just facing the back fire door was an old school free bar behind an press frame. So the bar was still on it with a plate aside. And the both 2 lads that were with me was the gym owner and somebody else. They were a lot older than me, and they jumped on it and they wrecked out with the 1 plate easily. So they said, go on, Cross, and you get on it. And I struggled. And they took the piss out of me for that.
Mm.
So I was determined I would never have my behind the net press piss taken out of me again. I'd behind the net press 5 plates aside for 5 reps.
Yeah.
Not my strongest. They said that couldn't be done. But they didn't say that couldn't be done until after I'd done it, and that's when someone said you can't do that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know any different, and I was determined that no one would ever tell me again that my behind the net press was weak. And that, don't get me wrong, that spans 15 years of that time period.
Mm.
But it just stuck in the back of my head. No one's ever going to tell me again I'm weak behind the net. No one's going to take piss out of that lift with me again.
Yeah, yeah.
And because I had no exposure, because it's not a popular lift, so there was no exposure to anyone lifting big weights behind the neck, I just kept going.
Yeah.
Because I had no idea it was any different, because no one talked about it.
Yeah.
And you can apply that principle to lots of things. People get overly science, overly involved. Just fucking do it.
Yeah, exactly. Just do it. Get some nuts. Right. On that note, we have been jibber jabbering for over an hour and a half, and I'm pretty sure that everybody else has more cups of tea to drink before we go to bed and put your blue light blockers on for all that scientific stuff that you need to do. So anyway, on that note, it is goodbye from me. Thank you so much for your time, Dave. Really appreciate it as always.
Pleasure.
Jack, you've been exceedingly quiet tonight, so we'll have to make you talk on our podcast next week.
Dave's got plenty to say. Dave's every question I had in my head. He's read that.
Well, I apologise for that. So
no, we like it. We like you talking.
Talk over.
It is. It's wonderful. So yes, it is goodbye from me. It's goodbye from him, and it is goodbye from Dave. Thank you ever so much, and we shall catch you next time on the next episode of For the Love of Oats. Same time, same place next week.
Brilliant. I'll catch you guys later. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks very much, Dave. Bye-bye.